Best.Podcast.Ever is sponsored by the Gertzberg Law Firm, a full-service business law firm in Cleveland and Chagrin Falls that's changing the way businesses retain their attorneys. Go to gertzberglaw.com to learn more. While you're there, check out Cover My Six, a complete legal audit of the 6 areas that most often create or prevent business lawsuits and government investigations. Go to covermysix.com to learn how we keep you safe. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to listen to the best podcast ever recorded.
And I just learned that for whatever it is, I just have to keep persevering, keep the goal that I'm going to help people with money in mind, and then somehow I'll find my way to a success point and then replicate that.
Hey folks, Alex Gertzberg here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. This is Best Podcast Ever, and this is a limited series that we've created called My Colossal Failure. And as the name would suggest, it's about entrepreneurs who have failed, which if you are a good entrepreneur, if you're a successful entrepreneur, you've done many times and you've done colossally. We all have those stories, and I am no different. I have failed many times, but every entrepreneur that I know, that I admire, that's an inspiration to me, has these great stories and has these great examples that show that as successful as they look today, they never just waved a magic wand and became this way instantly. They failed over and over and over again, and usually in a massive way. And there's a good reason for that. They take risks. Entrepreneurs are wired for risk. They are prepared to make big bets. The bigger the bet, the bigger the potential failure. You end up looking stupid. You end up feeling like shit. You have a lot of explaining to do to your spouse, to your investors, to your employees. And it's jarring. A lot of times you end up in therapy. It's traumatizing, when you run out of money, when you can't make payroll, when you have to shut down a business. So what you're about to listen to is one of a handful, about a half dozen episodes that we recorded within the last couple of months that we've put together into this series called My Colossal Failure. And you're going to hear some great, great failures and challenges. Some of them aren't really failures in the sense that the entrepreneur caused the thing to happen. They are just big, giant meatballs of a challenge that ordinarily would be seemingly impossible to overcome. What I will tell you is every single person that is on this show that I interview is someone that not just bounced back, but bounced back big. Okay. I mean, these are people who run giant companies now, and who learned, who are confident today, who had to break through the imposter syndrome that a lot of us entrepreneurs have anyway, but some of us have, even bigger imposter syndromes than other people because of these failures. But you get back up and you dust yourself off, and you just keep fighting that fight, and you do it enough times, and you learn strategically enough to where success is inevitable. It's inevitable. So I hope you enjoy this episode and this entire series. I will see you guys on the other side. Thanks, folks.
Gary, thank you again for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Folks will have, I'm sure, already listened to that amazing interview that I had with you. It was probably a year and a half ago now.
Yeah, it's a little while, yeah.
Yeah, which was awesome. I've listened to it multiple times. I've gotten some good nuggets out of just talking to you.
Wow, thank you. Yeah.
Each time I've listened to it. And so folks are already familiar with you. You're this wildly successful wealth manager and entrepreneur and strategic coach, right?
Yeah.
But you have indulged me by letting me take some of your time today for this limited series, which we're calling My Colossal Failure.
Yeah.
Right? And because what every entrepreneur knows is that you get to be a really successful entrepreneur by taking big risks, taking them often, and failing a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So I went back, and we're like 150 episodes in now, and I went back and pulled my favorite interviewees and my favorite entrepreneurs to come back and spend about 15, 20 minutes with me to tell me the story of their biggest failure and how they bounced back from it. And with the understanding that failure isn't really a failure. It could be a challenge, could be an obstacle, but it's something that just knocks you down, and it was hard. It was a colossal thing. So with that as a setup, Gary, tell me the story of your biggest failure and how you came back.
Sure. It actually started day one when I came into the industry. I was working in a general agency for a company, insurance company, and the general agent hired 9 of us at the same time. None of us with sales experience, not one person. And we had to go out and start selling life insurance, disability insurance, mutual funds, that kind of thing. So my training was this: go talk to those guys, because they were there. They started a week early. I couldn't get there for a week later. Go talk to those guys. Here's a book. They'll tell you what to say, and go out and get appointments. That was my training. It was literally.
How long ago is this?
34 years ago next month.
So this is right when you start into the financial industry. Okay, keep going.
So you had to, you're getting a stipend basically, and you had to meet a certain number of sales in the first quarter, second quarter. And if you don't, you're booted, you're gone. So I started making these cold calls in this book called Context Influential. And I was doing probably 120 a day, and it was beating the heck out of me. It was really hard. In fact, I remember after about 30 days of this, I had no sales, and I had like 3 or 4 appointments, and they were all horrible. I was in the parking garage with the administrative lady who ran the office, and I said, "This is harder than Ranger School. This is harder than anything I've ever done before. I mean, I'm constantly getting rejected all day long, and not that I'm okay with that, but just no results and no results and no results." And so we're coming up on this first quarter, and I barely got 2 sales in that first 90 days, and I was able to meet my first quarter. And one or 2 others of the other 9 did as well. And then we hit the second quarter. Same thing, right? And I get about halfway through the second quarter, and the general agent finally realizes all these people that the company's paying for have got no results. I mean, literally no results. And he brings in a buddy of his who's going to teach us how to market, because I knew nothing about marketing. And the guy comes in and says, "You need to go out and build a network. You need to go out and talk to people you know, ask for help. You need all these things. But the last thing you should be doing is cold calling random people and try to sell them insurance," which is the thing we were doing. And one of the other things he said is, you can also do direct mail. Well, the big thing I did was said, "Oh, I'm going to do this direct mail thing." And I went out and got individual doctors, and I got all their information, and I 10 cents at a time ran them through the machine, and I sent my money in it and the other 8 people came back for an intervention after 2 weeks. They said, "What are you doing? You're taking half of all the money they're paying you in this month for this direct mail." And I said, "Well, I'm trying to invest in myself, and this guy said it'll work, so I'm going for it." Anyway, I barely made it through the second quarter, and then they started dropping. And then all of a sudden, I started getting all these responses back from the direct mail, and I started getting sales. And by the end of the third quarter, I was the number 1 salesperson new salesperson for the company I was working for. I went from, nothing at all to, basically at that time about $25,000 of commissionable premium in 1 month, which is pretty high considering you have no experience whatsoever. But the point was that it was unbelievably horrible, just constantly going out and getting rejected and rejecting every day. And then finally figuring out one part and getting it going, and kept going at it. The others all gave up. And at the end of 7 months, I was the only person left. All 8 of them were gone, and I was the only one left. But it was just I felt in failure mode the whole time. It's just a constant until I started getting some of those sales, and I realized, oh, I can do this. I can actually do this. But that was for sure the hardest time I've ever had in my entrepreneurial career because of the just huge negative, constant negativity and failure happening all throughout every day, and then just barely making it, and just barely making it, and then taking off. So, kind of
how did you think about quitting?
No, I don't know what that word means. You know me well enough to know that I just persevere. I've been in many situations in my life where I get through something and I stand up and look around and nobody's there, and I'm wondering, where did all the competition? And then I think right away, oh, they're smart enough to stop at some point, and I'm not.
Well, this is it begs an interesting question for me anyway, which is, when do you? I mean, even in that situation, right? When do you think maybe I'm not spending my time correctly or wisely? Right? At what point do you stop sort of beating your head against the wall doing the same thing? Is it just kind of like so for 2 quarters, at no time did you consider, man, maybe I'd be better at something else?
That's a really, really good question. And the thing that happened was 2 months prior, the reason I went to work for this company was 2 months prior to that, a gentleman introduced me to what financial planning was. And I had, in my mind, gotten very clear about, boy, I can help all these people with their money. So every phone call I was making, every direct mail, all the money I was spending, all the failure, I just kept that in mind over and over and over again. And in fact, it occurred again when I moved to the company that now I run 32 plus years ago. For the first 7 months, we were doing cold canvassing and I had 0 sales. And I remember it was Christmas time and we were at my boss's, my mentor's home. He took my wife aside. He goes, I don't think Gary's going to make it. So, he goes, he says, you should tell him he's just not getting it. And my wife said, does Gary believe he can make it? He goes, yeah. I goes, he'll make it. And and it's not that, what's the right way of saying this? I think everybody has a different way of learning. Everybody has a different way of experiencing life. And for whatever reason, Alex, going back to when I was a little kid, I have always found that it's taken me 2 or 3 times longer to learn something than other people. And I don't mean that I'm a slow learner. It's the way my whole brain operates. And I think because of that, now that you mentioned this, I think the whole perseverance thing came into play because I realized very early on, if I don't really keep going at it, when everybody leaves and it's dark and the kids are all off the baseball field or basketball court, and I just keep throwing hour after hour through the midnight, and keep going and going. And I've done it so many times in my life. And then I come out the other side and I end up being the best player or the best that. And I just learned that for whatever it is, I just have to keep persevering, keep the goal that I'm going to help people with money in mind, and then somehow I'll find my way to a success point and then replicate that.
Gary, so this is a question that I'm so curious about. I don't know how it helps this podcast theme or not, but it might indirectly. Knowing what I know about you, knowing what I know about Ranger School, I do know that if you decide I'm going to keep doing this until I get it right, you will keep doing it until you get it right, until you get to the ring, right?
Right.
But can you think of a time in your life when you made that commitment and you knew it was going to be incredibly difficult?
Right.
And then at some point you said, it's no longer worth it to me. I actually do think my time is better spent elsewhere.
Yeah. I'm taking what I just said out of context.
Yeah.
I remember clearly, I would strike out at baseball as a kid. I mean, when I'd get up, all the kids would laugh at me and I'd strike out every time. And if I had a goofy pitcher that threw 4 balls, well, that's how I got on base. And I was determined, as usual, to try to, hit the ball and get on base. I was just a really uncoordinated kid, as it turned out. So I remember they came out with aluminum bats in 68. And of course, the coach goes, just try this because nothing works for you. So I go out there, aluminum bat, kid pitches the ball. I swing at it, goes over the fence, home run. I run the bases. I quit because I realized this was not me. I'm not meant to be a baseball player. Doesn't matter. I don't have any, there's nothing behind driving me. That's why I said what was driving me all the time was I wanted to help people with money. So I was going to do whatever it took. Now, would I keep doing cold calling? No. Would I keep doing direct mail? No, it got better. Would I keep doing, it got better at the craft, but I wasn't going to stop persevering and these failures would grow. But I had times in my life like that where I said, no, this is not me. I have no passion for this. So I kind of go by what my passion is to then get there. It may take me a couple different routes to find the one that works for me. But the one thing I've learned about myself is I have to persevere to the point of some level of success.
And it's such a difficult game to play because we did this thing in coach with you, the opportunity filter.
Sure.
Right. Remember that? I love that thing. I don't do that enough, but I have this, I struggle with the intellectually knowing that you have to do something until the cost outweighs the benefit, right? Once it's no longer useful to your employees, to your family, if it's just something that you got to do because you're bullheaded, right? But everybody else is suffering, you really got to think about whether.
Absolutely. And I don't usually take anybody on my journey. It's very rare.
Oh, that's such a good one.
It's very rare I take anybody on a journey for the exact fact. It's a really good point you just made there, Alex. And I think it's a very subtle point, is that when we have a thing in our company called, I'm thinking of the names of it, but basically it's a right for additional authority. And many times one of my team members will do something and say, hey, you didn't have that right. Well, I really want to do it. I said, it's not the fact you didn't have the right, is if something you did was a mistake, the level of responsibility is so high that either you won't recover from it ever, or we won't recover from ever. Either way, it's a bad situation, even though it seems to make sense for you to do that. You have to understand the actions you take, is it involving others or not? Personal responsibility. So decision rights, these decision rights that you have are at this level. The decision rights above that are mine or someone else. Why? Because when it goes wrong, I'm taking the hit. I did not authorize you to take that hit. So I don't want my family involved. I don't want my children involved. I don't want my employees involved. I don't want my collaborators involved. So people will see me going off and doing these things by myself, and they're like, why? I said, well, I'm testing, I'm working, I'm persevering, I'm trying to figure out what works, but I don't want you to take you on this crazy journey because it's too destructive to you. It's okay with me because I'm wired this way. It's not okay for me to take you on crazy land journey. You got enough of your own. You don't need mine. That's how I operate.
And it's such a great point. And then I think there's an even more subtle one than that. And that is how you spend your time as the leader of your organization is an investment, right? That's time that you're not spending on this project or on this person's development or on this client or whatever. You're going down this road. I like the way you distinguished between it being your journey and then taking people on your journey. I think the more difficult sort of calculus in business, certainly for me, is every time commitment I make, I'm taking people on that journey with me.
Well, you do as a leader anyway. So the way I've kind of bifurcated it is I do what's called deep work. It's from Cal Newport's book, Deep Work. And I do deep work every morning, or I try to do every morning. It doesn't always work out, but probably 3-4 out of 5 mornings that works. And that 2-hour block is when I do that work. In other words, no one else is involved. No one else is coordinating. No one else And that's the place where I can be my unique self, which I don't want anybody on that journey, because it would be nightmarish for them. And I know that. So because they're not going to do things like I was doing the step challenge and I got into it like I normally do. And I was walking 50,000 steps a day. Now I got to tell you, most people wouldn't even try after the first day to do that. And
yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. And
That's
I
insane.
did it. I was trying to beat a particular individual who was way ahead of me. And I said, well, I'll just do 50,000 plus days in a row, and then I'll be beating this person. And I threw and I did. And later when I won that competition, I met her. She goes, what did you do? I said, well, you don't know me. I said, and most people don't know me well enough unless they ever come against me when they're on my journey, which is crazy. Most people wouldn't go, as successful as I'm supposedly and all this other stuff. Gary's out doing what today? 50,000 steps. How long is that taking him? 8 hours. He's taking 8 hours, right? Because he just felt like it, and he's doing it for 5 days, right? That sounds a little crazy. That doesn't sound normal. And so I don't take people on those kinds of rides with me. I did it because I just wanted to get my energy level up. I wanted to see how far my body would go at this age. I just wanted to kind of, feel for the edge of my existence, to feel out in the weather and everything else. I just wanted to do that. But I got a wild hair up, and I just decided to do that. But I don't think many people would just one day, just do it. They're not wired like this. So you can't take them on those journeys. Those journeys are just not fun.
Yeah. This was awesome. You gave me a lot to think about, Gary, as I knew you would. I really appreciate it, man. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm probably going to bug you to be on my next little limited series when I think of the next one. This was great. So thank you, folks. Thanks for listening in, and we will see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we thank you for listening. And remember to check out the Gertzberg Law Firm. Whether you are starting, running, growing, or transitioning a business, or if you need to create or update your wills, trust, or estate plan, our team will give you an incredible level of personalized attention and a passionate commitment to meet your objectives. We are veteran-owned, and our award-winning lawyers have the highest ranking from Super Lawyers and Avo. We have also recently received the coveted Weatherhead 100 Upstarts Award for a second year in a row, and we are among the first Ohio business law firms to offer our clients a non-billable alternative on every single matter we handle for them, and opt out of the billable hour. What we are most proud of, though, are the many things our clients rely on us for. We successfully defend them in court, but we also help them avoid the courtroom with our Cover My Six service. We protect their assets through good estate and succession planning, and we assist our clients in many non-legal business services like recruiting and business development. We want our clients to feel confident in their choices and to help them resolve any issues or potential problems quickly and efficiently so they can get back to what they love, running their businesses. More than just litigators, we are trusted advisors, problem solvers, and growers of businesses. Let us help you and your company. Call us or find us online to learn more. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.